Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Gospel Digest with your host DJ ChristCentric. Please, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you do subscribe. Turn on your bell notification icon so you can receive content anytime we post on this channel. Gospel Digest, we bring you the latest juice in the world of urban gospel news, anything from the world of gospel music, gospel entertainment, the big news from the top performers and your favorite gospel artists, all in one here on this channel. Today's episode of the show, actually, we're talking about a great urban gospel artist by name Scott Evans. Scott Evans is just one of a few urban gospel artists who has done remarkably well for himself and also for the urban gospel music genres. One of the few things that you can remember Scott Evans for in his music ministry is the act of always making sure that the visuals he has for his songs are of really top-notch quality. We are coming from an era where in the past gospel music videos used to look a certain way by not having that massive mass appeal in order to make a lot of people enjoy the type of music that we do. But Scott Evans is one of the few artists who actually invest in his music videos and put out so much visually appealing music video out there, right? This is how simple I can put it. Now, the issue is with one statement that Scott Evans made in an interview on Ghana's Prime TV stations, which is GTV Breakfast Show. And the statement that he made, actually, me personally, upon hearing the statement, it didn't go too well with me, and I find everything wrong with what he said in that particular interview. Let's go check out the video. We'll be right back.
If and have your fans remember one thing about you, what should your fans remember about you?
I stood my ground for Afro-Gospel. That's it.
Afro-Gospel. Define Afro-Gospel to my 13-year-old son.
Okay, so unlike the traditional kind of gospel, Afro-Gospel takes Afro-beats, piano, hip-hop, all the other genres, and put the word of God on it. That's
simple.
Simple.
Okay. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, I love God, and I thought if I want to express my faith and belief in God through music, to people like me, young people like me who loves God and still want to enjoy Afro music, they want to enjoy hip-hop, they want to enjoy R&B, piano, and still they want to get involved with certain kind of languages. They want to be inspired. They want their faith to build up on the word of God through music. Then the only means for me to reach out to them was to use Afro-Gospel.
Okay. All your songs, piano, because the Mapake it's kind of an piano vibe. What are the other genres that you use?
Oh, I have reggae, I have hip hop, I have Afro-beats, I have high life, I have hip life. So, but now I'm a piano because piano is a global sound now. So yeah.
What's the most interesting reaction you've gotten from this song?
Is it gospel?
Okay.
That's always been like that. Are you sure this is a gospel song?
Okay. They don't hear the words?
People there's a perception towards gospel music that it should be like this, it should be like that, it should be like this. But the amazing part of gospel is the fact that when it comes to the gospel music,
if and have your fans remember one thing about you, what should your fans remember about you?
I stood my ground for Afro-Gospel. That's it.
Afro-Gospel. Define Afro-Gospel to my 13-year-old son.
Okay, so unlike the traditional kind of gospel, Afro-Gospel takes Afro-beats, piano, hip-hop, all the other genres, and put the word of God on it. That's
simple.
Simple.
Okay.
So you just watched the video. That was Scott Evans in an interview with Kafui Day of GTV Breakfast Show. At this point, please help this channel by subscribing, turning on the bell notification icon, and also liking this video, and also sharing with friends and family, people that you feel they should also be in and know some of these things. We are building a gospel community and we are building God's kingdom. Yes. Now let's get into the discussion. Let's get into the news. Now, for you watching this video right now, you might have probably listened to what Scott Evans said, and then you are thinking to yourself, I don't see anything wrong with what this gentleman just said. for you, you might see that there's nothing wrong, but let me break some things down to you and let me explain reason why I find everything wrong with what that gentleman said. I mean, when asked the question, he was all smiley and it didn't look like he was saying anything that was wrong. Now let me prove to you, let me show you why I believe this is wrong. Now, urban gospel is a music genre, particularly here in Ghana, we call it urban gospel. Now, what urban gospel is that, now urban gospel is that type of music genre where there's influence from every other music genre, but the only difference is that the word of God or the gospel is preached in our music or through our music. So you can have hip-hop and you can have Afrobeat, you can have any music genre at all, but the only thing that does change is the lyrics. So here in Ghana, we call it urban gospel, right? Urban gospel. Now, this is the challenge that we've had in the past. Now, in other countries, there are different names for this particular kind or type of music. In the US, they call it CHH, Christian hip hop, because predominantly the type of genre that they do in the US is hip hop. So when there's a hip hop where the lyrics in there is godly or is Christian, they call it Christian hip hop. So the urban gospel alternative or the urban gospel that people do in the US is called Christian hip hop, CHH. Number two, in another country like Nigeria, where this type of new wave of gospel music is really dominant, they call it urban Christian music. In Nigeria, urban gospel is called urban Christian music. And so you have the same thing that happens here in Ghana, but what happens is that their name over there, the name they have given that type of music genre is, they call it urban Christian music. So you can have hip hop, you can have R&B, but the lyrics in all of those genres is gospel. In Kenya, they don't have any specific name for it, they simply call it gospel, because in Kenya the gospel music is really dominant over there. So that type of music that we do here in Ghana, they call that music gospel. Now, this is the issue. The issue I have with the statement that Scott Evans made is that in a country where urban gospel hasn't really been taken seriously or hasn't really had enough support, it looks as if the name that urban gospel has, it looks like there's now the infiltration or the introduction of a total new thing altogether in the eyes of people. But in the actual sense, that thing that Scott Evans is trying to push to people or make them understand is the same thing as urban gospel. I mean, saying Afro-Gospel, it is just urban gospel. In actual fact, saying Afro-Gospel in a way is even limiting. Saying Afro-Gospel is really limiting. But if you say urban gospel cuts across, whereas you can have anybody who does reggae, who does R&B, still fits in the urban gospel name tag. You can even see that when he was asked which legacy he would want people to remember him for, he said that he's that type of person who stood for Afro-Gospel. And the man was confused because he doesn't know anything like Afro-Gospel. All he knows is urban gospel. So he said, what is Afro-Gospel? And now he began to say that, okay, so Afro-Gospel is the type of gospel where there's reggae, there's R&B, there's hip-hop. No, Scott Evans, what you are actually describing is not Afro-Gospel. Afro-Gospel is simply gospel music with Afrobeat. So there's nowhere, and there's no need carrying the tag or the name of Afro-Gospel, right? Because what you are giving a misrepresentation. The genre in which you find yourself or you do is urban gospel. There's no need bringing up any other name to describe or to categorize the type of music that you do. What you are doing is urban gospel music. There's nothing like Afro-Gospel. Actually, there is Afro-Gospel, because in urban gospel, there's Afro-Gospel. In urban gospel, anybody who does Afrobeat, that is an urban gospel. We can say it's Afro-Gospel. But to actually categorize and actually name the whole thing that we do in urban gospel as Afro-Gospel is really, really wrong. In Nigeria right now, the sound which is dominant in Nigeria right now is Afrobeat. So when they release songs, when they put out songs, they call it Afro-Gospel. But then even the name Afro-Gospel is limiting because there are other boys or so many boys in Nigeria who are doing hip-hop, right, who are still staying true to hip hop, or who are still staying true to reggae, and they are doing reggae or hip hop, but it's gospel. But because you are trying to give the whole genre a name called Afro-Gospel, these people can't express themselves really well, because when you call it Afro-Gospel and then they put out a song that is reggae, what then do they call it? Because you are saying it's Afro-Gospel. So please, the genre you are in and the type of music that you're doing is urban gospel, right? It's urban gospel. The general categorization or the general name for the genre you are in is urban gospel. There's nothing like Afro-Gospel. There's Afro-Gospel in urban gospel. And what people know in Ghana is that there's a thing like urban gospel. And even as urban gospel, we have not really gotten to the world record, the highest type of or level of recognition that we want. And now it looks like we are trying to introduce another type of name or another set of name, which gets so confusing. You're saying you're doing Afro-Gospel, but the definition you're giving for the Afro-Gospel is actually a definition for urban gospel. So this is that thing that is not making us grow. When we continue like this, where everybody brings any name change or any name categorization, it will actually make us lag behind, because at every point in time, people realize that what is happening, is this a new thing that is happening, is this what I already know, and it becomes really confusing. I think that it's about time we all stick together and work with a specific cause. In the Bible, when a group of people decided to build a tower up to heaven, God saw that because they were together and they had unity in mind, their task was going to be accomplished. And so God realized that no, if I don't come in and separate or break these people are going to be bigger and better every time. So let me bring confusion, let me bring different names or different languages in their midst. And that was what God did. So please, let's stick together. The type of music genre we are doing, it's urban gospel. It is not Afro-Gospel. You can do Scott Evans right now, you can do Afro-Gospel music, and next year decide to do something on reggae as you are being led. And so when you do reggae next year and then you've given people the impression that you are an Afro-Gospel artist, what happens to you if you release a reggae record next year? Are you going to be called Afro reggae artist or a reggae artist? No, the genre that you are doing is urban gospel. So please, let's help ourselves. So this is my take, right? So my name is DJ ChristCentric. This has been the Gospel Digest, right? So you can subscribe to the channel, turn on your bell notification icon, and please like this video and share. So let me know what you think right now about what we just talked about, what we just discussed, and what Scott Evans said. Let's get interactive. Bye for now.
Whatever. Please, I want to reach 1 million likes. So please, Okay, thank you.